Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. And as you guys can see, the cockpit from Next Level Racing, the Flight Pro, is just about complete. We've got a few more things to add, but today we need to get it ready for at least DCS World because I've got so many other pieces of hardware that you guys have yet to see, which some of them are in the camera right now. So the first thing I need to do is get these MFDs set up, and I'm going to show you guys a real easy way to do that, so stick around. Make sure if you guys can that you join us at FlightSimExpo 2023. That's right, Overkill Simulations is going to be present this year, guys, at the Lone Star Museum in Houston, Texas. If you guys are interested in joining us there, be sure to check down the description below. There is a coupon code that can save you guys a bit of money using my personal reference to get you there. Again, that'll save you a bit of cash in your FlightSimExpo 2023 experience. This is going to be June 23rd through the 25th of 2023. Again, in Houston, Texas, at the Lone Star Flight Museum. I went a few years ago in Las Vegas, and they are an absolute great time. There's some very, very informative and educational seminars to help better your flight simming experience, as well as a ton of developers of both hardware and software that you guys actually get to try out, essentially a try before you buy experience, as well as talking with the developers themselves and finding out what the products are all about. So again, guys, it's going to be FlightSimExpo 2023 in Houston, Texas. I hope to see you guys all there. Don't forget to use my coupon code that you can find down in the description below. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. All right, everybody. So first off, guys, I am definitely coming down with something, got a cold or something happening. So if I go mute for a couple seconds here and there, I'm trying not to cough in your ear. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is come down here to the Helios website, and we're going to download the Helios installers here. Okay, now you can see it's got the one there because I've already done it. Actually, you guys probably can't see that, but that's okay. Then we're going to come over to our directories. Oh, there's all kinds of cool stuff there. And let me just delete that one that I grabbed. You should have something. Oh, I don't need that. You should have something that looks like this. When you open it up, all you're interested in for the sake of this video is this bottom guy right here, Helios, and then the version number .msi. You're going to run that, pick a specific location for you. Like, for example, mine is in applications, and you can see there is Helios, and there's the installation. You will also get, move this out of your way. Let's minimize that for a second. You will also get these two icons here. Now, the only thing we're going to be interested for today is the profile editor. So once you get that all up and running, it's time to launch Helios. There we go. Let me make sure it looks good for you guys. That's close enough. There we go. Now, you can see it's got our current monitor configuration. Now, I'm going to show you guys what we want to do here. So I'm going to open up my monitor window. This is the Windows. These are the two MFDs that you guys saw on top of the rig. That is the central 4K monitor. This is my other monitor, and this is the big screen that I use to do all my recording and editing on that I'm talking to you guys on right now. The thing that you want to make sure of that Helios tends to not enjoy is scaling. If you guys have any scaling, I recommend disabling it. Now, for the view export, it shouldn't be a huge issue. But if you plan on going further with Helios and using the templates, okay, and I'll show you an example of one here. If you plan on using any of this stuff, like you see how it's got the OSB panel, okay, where all your push buttons are. If you plan on using any of these, okay, Helios hates, actually, I guess it would be DCS technically, but it's hard to say who's to blame here. But they hate scaling. So make sure your monitor scaling is set at 100% anytime you are launching DCS if you are like me and have multiple monitors. All right, now let's go ahead, and you guys can see all these monitors here are everything that you guys saw over by the cockpit. That's the monitor on the right. That's the monitor in the center. Those are the two MFDs. The monitor on the left is currently unplugged because I have my Pimax plugged into my final display port. Okay. By the way, if you guys know a good switch that you can use for display port that will allow you to just push a button and switch between VR and monitor, let me know. The one I tried, it was rather expensive and it's still no dice. It was even a powered switch and it did not work. So anyway, if you guys know a solution to that, let me know, because I hate having to constantly reach behind the computer and plug the monitor in. Anyway, I digress. Now, the reason why I have these set up just like this, I want the monitor that I do not want to be used by DCS. Okay, now it will still take effect, and I'll show you guys what I mean. It's still going to be used, but we don't want it to be used as a viewport. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys how we're going to set all this up in a second, but you have to calculate this out. But it makes it much, much easier to remove this as a viewport. A viewport is anything you see on your screen that is considered the cockpit. Okay, so these are export monitors. They're not considered viewports. A viewport is anything that you would see looking out the window, looking around the cockpit. That's your viewport. Okay, so what you're used to seeing probably before watching this video is your viewport. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to minimize that for now. We're not going to be completely done with it. Let's go back into Helios. And what we're going to do first is we're going to just create a new profile. And you guys can see here what I've done here. So we're just going to do profile. I'm going to do save as, and we're going to call this one Hornet. We're going to do the Hornet and the Viper today. So there's the Hornet. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new interface. The interface is just how Helios reads its different tasks. And we're going to go to monitor setup. We're going to add that one in. There we go. Anything that is blue is your viewport. Okay, so like this would be all my viewports. So on every single one of these screens that I'm showing you guys here, there's that center monitor, there's part of the monitor on the right, and again, here's my big one. Here's where I would see the clouds, the terrain, the scenery, everything that you would see looking out the window. We don't want that. We just want it on the center one. Okay, so anything that is in blue, that is your viewport. Okay, so we still want these two check marked because they are going to be used. And because this is considered my primary display, and I don't want to change that every time I launch DCS, it has to be checked. It will not let me uncheck this because it is considered the primary display. And what I'm referring to is literally in Windows, if we select this monitor, make this my main display. It's checked on that monitor. So because of that, I can't unselect this monitor. So keep that in mind. And that is why we are stacking it. So then I've got my row of monitors that I want to use. And then I'm coming up here and I'm hitting from left corner of desktop and just using the top corner down. Okay. And then now I have got my two MFDs. They're blacked out. They're going to be used, which is why they're over here, but they're not going to show the viewport. Now, what we do now is we're going to double click on the first monitor and we're going to start with, let's do the F-18s right here. So we're going to do the F-18 viewports is what we're looking for. And so actually, excuse me. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Left MFCD. I'm going to drop that in there. Now I know these screens are 800 by 600. Okay. So that's how much real estate I have to work with here. Now I've already done this before, so I know what my measurements are. Okay. So if it's 800 by 600 from the left, we want to come in 100 pixels. From the top, we want it to be 0. You guys can watch what the box is doing. The width of the actual view of the export, I want it to be, let me think about this, 600. And the height is also going to be 600. And there we go. And now I'm going to do the same thing with monitor 2. And I'm going to move this over so it makes it easy. And we're going to do the right MFCD. And again, 100, because I want to come in 100 pixels. And then I'm going to delete. I want to go all the way from the top down. So now I was going to send it to the top. And then set the actual distance of the view. So again, 600 by 600 is what we should want. And there we go. All right. So now that we've got that all done, we're going to go back into our interface status. The interface status is anything that needs to be done. So like the first thing you're going to see here, and we're going to address this at the very end before we go into DCS. So bear with me, but we're going to address this issue. What we want to look down for is any other issues with the configuration. So far, it doesn't look like any. But let's go to the monitor setup. Let's come down here. And let's see here. I actually want to delete that. That's an old configuration. Same thing with that one. Get rid of that one. There. All right. So those are all old. Don't worry about those. So you can see monitor setup files need to be configured. So we're going to hit configure. Let me show you what that did. If we go into our saved games directory, DCS open beta, go into our config, monitor setup, Helios. Let's open it with Notepad++. There it is. This is everything that we just created. Now I'm going to talk about the UI and everything in just a minute, because viewport, you guys can see we have our viewport set up right. So when I'm actually in the cockpit, it's going to be displayed on the correct monitor. The UI, like when I'm in the main menu, it's not. If you guys look at this, what this is actually going to do, it's going to be putting it on my main monitor, the one that I'm telling you I don't want to use. Now, how do we know that? Every single monitor software, like Helios, Windows, whatever, this top left corner is 0 on the x-axis and 0 on the y-axis. These numbers here represent pixels, the number of pixels across, the number of pixels down. So our x-axis, it's saying start the UI at 2727. So that would probably be right about here. Okay. And then on the y-axis, 2163. This is a 4K monitor. So we know that its resolution is 3840 by 2160 going down. 2163 then would be right about here. Okay. And then it says, how big do I want it? 5120 by 1440. That's the size of this monitor right here. So my menus, currently the way we have this set, will be displayed here. Now we're going to address this at the very end because it's a pain in the butt to change any other way. So bear with me on that as well. We're going to come back to that, but I wanted you guys to understand what all these numbers mean. Same thing with this placement. Remember, we put our MFD on the left MFD, we put 100 pixels in on this monitor. So it's going to come in from 0, count to 100, and then start drawing our spacing here. Okay? All right. And you guys will see all that in action in a minute. Just trying to give you guys some understanding, some concept of how this is working, so that way if you want to edit these manually, you can. Okay. So we've got that one in there. We're going to go ahead and minimize that. We'll be back. So now, there was one other thing that I told you guys we had to address. Interface status. You can see that this says requires additional patches, or requires patches to be installed. Now, how do we do that? We're going to come back to our monitor. We're going to go to Profile, Add Interface, DCS Additional Viewports. Select that, hit Add. Sorry, there was one of those coughs that I was telling you guys about. And we're going to pay attention to how everything is labeled right here. Okay. So we're going to do that. Now it shows, we're going to revert patches. And by the way, under additional viewports, you may have to come in here and show it where your DCS World directory is. Now I've already done this, so I'm going to revert the patches so you guys can see installed patches. When you install the additional viewports interface, this is what you should see. Okay, if you're doing this for the first time. And we're just going to hit install patches. Okay. And then from there, you should have to come in here. And it should tell you that it needs to configure again. Okay, mine didn't because I already had the patches installed. Unfortunately, I forgot that. So real quick recap. If you show patches need to be installed, profile, add interface, it would say DCS additional viewports. You add DCS additional viewports. You may have to tell it where the location of your saved games is. Here, it would say, instead of revert patches, it would say that red text, and you would hit install patches. Then you would have to come back to monitor setup, scroll to the bottom, and it should say configure. And what you guys would actually see is that these names here would change. And let me check something, because I actually might have a copy of an old one that I can show you guys. Let me see. No, I think that is the current one. Let me check the one from here. Yeah, no. Okay. So I was hoping to show you guys, but essentially what happens when it patches is DCS on occasion changes this name. And so what the patches do is they update the script to type in the correct names, okay? Damn it, I had to cough again. Okay, so let's continue onward. So now we're just going to go profile, save, and that's it. And now we're going to just do profile new. And here's the cool part. From here on out, after you create the first one, it gets real easy. Okay. So we obviously want monitor 1 and we want monitor 2. Now we're going to do it for the F16. So we're going to come down here, 16 viewports. And you guys can see you have the HUD, RWR, the DED, all kinds of cool stuff. And we're just going to do the same thing. So I'm going to come right in here, 100, 0, and then 600 by 600. Boom. That was the left. Damn it. Okay, so I actually need to Control C. I think I can come over here and just do Control V. Yep, there it goes. So you can click on it, copy and paste it. Now we need to come back to monitor 2 and I need to delete that because it's the wrong one. And now we're going to go for the right one instead this time and do that again. 100. Oops. 0. 600. 600. Boom. Boom, baby. And we still have to do the same thing. Add interface. Still got to add the monitor setup. Still a requirement. Okay. And we're just going to hit save profile. And this one we're going to title as Viper. Bring that down. Just hit configure. Check the interface status. Okay. Remember, needs patching. So let's see what happened if anything happened here. F16C, left MCD. Now, I shouldn't need any patching, but we still got to go through the steps. So we want to make sure that we come in here, go profile, add interface, DCS additional viewports, drop that in there. And it says all patches are installed. So technically that's complete, but I'm just going to revert again and reinstall the patches so you guys can see it one more time. Interface status, everything should be good. Monitor setup, everything should be good. Coming over here, everything should be good. Okay, and you can see now what it did now. The reason why we're doing it like this is because now it makes it aircraft specific. So you need one profile, but every time you change aircraft, it will register whatever exports are appropriate for that particular plane. Okay, so where this comes in handy is like as you start adding more screens, you start adding touch screens and things like that, and you want, you know, the DED, or maybe you want the Apache keyboard, which I'll show you guys in a later video when we go through Helios and I continue building out my cockpit like I did before. I had the keypad for the pilot cockpit in DCS. And I'll show you guys all that at a later time, but where I could just use a touch screen and use the keyboard as you normally would. And you can do that with any of the features. The Apache OSBs, for example, the MFDs, you know, they have 6 buttons instead of 5. So instead of going out and buying the Apache ones, I just use touchscreens for the Apache. And it worked out real well. Anyway, moving on. So that's the nice thing about this, is that every time you switch an aircraft, this one profile will automatically export things to the correct direction. So at this point, we're done with Helios. Okay, so we're going to close the editor because we're done with it. Oh, let's hit yes. Said we didn't save something. Okay, come in here. Everything still looks good. Now, remember I told you guys, I'm going to bring up the camera here for a second. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys. This is the screen that as of right now, by looking at our config file here, this is the monitor that DCS's main menu is going to launch on. We want it to launch on that monitor over there. We want it to launch in the center. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So let's go ahead and take care of that now. So how we do that is actually really simple, guys. We already know the viewport center. We already know that that's set up on the correct monitor. So all we're going to do is copy that. So we're going to go into here and we're going to say the X position is 1600. Oops. 0. And we're going to set the correct resolution of that monitor. 3840 by 2160. Now, anytime you open up Helios Profile Editor and you hit Profile Save, these numbers will change. You have to remember to come back in and change these back to how we have them now. But now we just hit Save. And now let's go ahead and take care of a few things inside of DCS World. So I'm going to launch it and I'm going to show you guys a few things that I've already done, but I'm going to show you how to do it. It's real simple. Okay, so what you need to do now is we need to come over here Go to settings, and up here, you need to set the total resolution of all of your monitors combined. And then here, you need to make sure you select that Helios profile that we just created. You should see that in there. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys real quick what I mean by this one. Okay, so for that, what you need is all of this. So remember, this top left corner is 0, 0. You're going to count all the way across. So this should be 800 plus 800 plus 3840 plus 3840. And that gives you your horizontal axis. Then we're going to do, basically you can just take your biggest monitors. Okay, so from here, we're going to take the 2160 plus the 1440, add those together, and we have our vertical axis. And that's what you'll set as your resolution within inside of DCS World. Okay, so your far left point to your far right point, and your far right point down to your top to your bottom. Okay. You don't add, for example, these are 800 by 600. You would not add the 600 plus the 2160. This is just 2160 plus 1440 is the total real estate taken up here. Okay, and once you set that up, then it's just a matter of going back to DCS and let's launch into the cockpit. And there you guys have it. Very simple, quick and easy to set up. That only took us a few minutes less than what it took to make this video. So anyways, I hope that helped you guys set up some new monitors and think of some new configuration methods that you can do. We're going to be doing a lot more with Helios, guys, that you guys are going to see. So stick around for that. As always, guys, stay safe and healthy. I'll see you in the next one.